Hi, my name is Valentin. I go by Virtual Riot. I make dubstep, EDM bass music, and I also produce a lot of other things. I'm from Germany, play piano, and moved to the US about 10 years ago, and now I'm a DJ and music producer. I think I've learned a lot about songwriting and sound design from the people I work with, and it's had some influence on my style of production. Obviously, working with Skrillex has had a major influence. And sort of my DJ sets had an influence on that as well. Seeing what works in a live context suddenly really influences your decisions when you're writing a song. So I try to combine musicality and technical stuff and sound design in my songs. I love playing piano. I love working with a keyboard first when I start writing a song, coming up with melodies and chord progressions, and then listening to dubstep, especially when that genre first came into being and hearing all those crazy sounds. Of course, I was like, I want to know how to do that. And it's just been this continuous process of there's new technology, there's new synthesis methods. How can we abuse this? How can we make the most crazy, surprising alien sounds? That's always really excited me. So it's like a mix of this very classical approach to songwriting and this super technical engineering approach to the sound design. I think the first Arturia product I used was the Arturia Minimoog plugin from 2004. I was like 10, 12 years old. What I like about the Arturia tool specifically is that a lot of those old analog synth emulations you have are like bringing some analog warmth. I know that's like the buzzword in the music production community, but I like that. Either analog warmth or things like the augmented piano, like the sampled stuff, like adding some altered real instruments in with all the crazy sound design stuff. And that's like a really nice combination. I think Pigments is great because it has a little bit of everything combined with really high quality effects. For weird sound design stuff and dubstep stuff, obviously wavetable synthesis is a great start, but then I love the dreamy and emotional stuff too. So the granular engine is great, tons of filters, and you can make very fleshed out complete patches just inside Pigments by itself. One of my favorite things to do would be if we just had a soft saw sound, maybe something like this, to make it sound just a little less clinical and digital. Kind of simulate the way an analog synth like the Polybrute would work, where in the Polybrute uses a different set of oscillators for every new note that you play, because the previous ones might have to like ring out. So they are maybe ever so slightly out of tune in just the finest little way, but you can hear that. And you can sort of simulate that by taking a random modulator here, and instead of setting this to sync, you just set it to freeze. And now every time I play a new note, a new random value here is chosen, and then that could, for example, just go ever so slightly on the fine tune of this oscillator. And now if I play multiple notes, like this, especially the same notes over and over again, you get a little bit of drift between them and the slight unison chorus effect. And just immediately makes it sound a little more alive, in my opinion. And my second favorite thing is that randomization doesn't just have to be on the tuning. You could put that on a lot of different things. So if we use random 2 and 3 here as well, we can now have maybe this one change the, let's say the filter pan over here. So now our notes are randomly flying left or right. Like each new note is gonna have a random pan assigned to it. And maybe even, I wonder if this works. Could we modulate the glide time with one of them? I'm just gonna try. But just like a little bit. So now we randomly get glide on some of the notes, which is really cool, I think, especially if you're doing arpeggios or something. That is really sweet. I like that a lot. I think the playfulness in my music kind of comes from my childhood. I loved toys, Legos, dominoes. I spent years setting up dominoes in a row and then knocking them over. I had about 20,000 dominoes and just did that every day. And then for me, at least in my brain, making music in a DAW is the same thing, where you set up all the pieces and it's like a chain reaction that's going to happen. And when you hit the space bar and it plays, you're like setting it off, but you get to do it over and over. And the dominoes you had to like set back up again, which was very tedious. Back when I was starting music production, when I was like 17 or something, I would not do my homework in school, but I'd work on my computer and make music because I'd rather do that than the chore I need to do. And then now sometimes there's like, oh, you need to finish this thing, this song or that song, or you need to finish this remix. And then this kind of feeling comes back of like, oh, this is something I have to do. And then I might procrastinate by making a bunch of snares or just messing with a new synth plugin I found. And then, oh, now I've made a really cool sound in the synth plugin. Maybe that's a cool idea for a drop. And suddenly there's like a whole new song that I didn't have to make, but came into being because I was procrastinating on this other thing. But then maybe this new song that I've made, because it's not forced and because it comes from a state of play rather than work, might actually like be a really good thing. And that's sort of an approach I've always had and never really let go of. Sometimes it gets me into trouble and I'm late on my deadlines. But at the same time, there's like magic in that at times. I'm gonna just make a new preset again. And the modal oscillator is actually really nice for some like physical modeling type stuff, where we have an exciter exciting a resonator, and we can sort of change some characteristics about it. I like the bass one, because it kind of does sound, kind of has an acoustic quality to it. And then down here we've got the warp knob, which kind of does a similar thing as that stretch knob in the harmonics oscillator. If we turn the quantize on this, we just get all these like nice variations of that sound. And if we put a random on that, set that to the same setting again where it's on freeze. Now, every new note will be slightly different, and it'll sound even more realistic in my opinion, because you'll have certain overtones be louder on the one time you trigger that note and a little bit differently arranged in volume the next time you play that note. So that makes for some like really pretty patches. I'm gonna give this some release, and then again, effects section, just turn up the send thing, and we are good. Whether you know a section or a song or a sound is finished or not is pretty difficult, because you can always like play with it. At some point, it helps to just commit stuff to audio so that you stop fiddling with it. In civil engineering, if you want to build a bridge and you have $1 million of budget or $10 million of budget, the bridge is going to get built anyway. So you kind of just have to allocate your resources, like how much time do I want to spend on this really? And should I maybe move on and work on this next section? Because otherwise you'll get stuck again. And now we're back at the workflow thing. You don't want to inhibit the flow. I've also noticed the new play screen here, besides the cute background animation, the access to all the most important stuff here is actually really nice. For the engine one, like the warp, brilliance, and volume would be like the most important stuff I need. There's only one filter in use, so we have like the cutoff and resonance here. Plus effects. I don't have any effects loaded right now, but if I were to load an effect, let's just for fun, let's put the new corroder on there and see what happens. Neat. Now if I go over to the play area, that has its dry wet over here. And then the same would happen with these two knobs if you added some effects over yonder. So it just like gives you quick access to the most important parts of the patch. And I've been really enjoying that, in my opinion. Like this is pretty neat. If you're thinking about writing for big festivals or making a song that's gonna like go off at a live show and other DJs are gonna play, it definitely helps to imagine what a crowd would react to and how it is going to feel at a show. If you have a big studio with massive speakers, you can sort of like simulate that a little bit, because there's like these little things where if in the build-up you want to have everything get really thin and there's a little bit of sub left, in a small studio you might not even care about it too much, but at a festival you'll still feel that in your body, but you really want the contrast between no sub and then on the drop all the bass comes back. Or I'll just learn from seeing shows even, and other people play shows. I've sort of noticed the bigger the crowd at the festival, the longer the build-ups, like longer these ups and downs of tension in the set, and then having, especially in these genres like rhythm and dubstep at the moment, having these fake outs where the drop doesn't really drop and having all these surprises and suspense. That's really cool to try something out that you've built and then see how people react to it, and then go back. Maybe you're playing another show tomorrow, work on it, change some things, try it again the next day, see how that changed. That's been like a really fun experiment back and forth to sort of see, oh, they like this kind of thing, or this works or this doesn't. Speaking of, this is Carmen, my VJ.
My name's Carmen Aguirre, and I go by VJ Nure. I do the visuals live at our shows. A lot of times, Val will work on music, and I'll work on visuals at the same time. We do a lot of back and forth where, like, I might make something or an idea, and then he might change something about the song because he thinks, oh, this would be actually really good lasers in this moment, or like it might be really cool to add this little like tiny sound effect into the intro because that will make the visuals more interesting.
I don't know what the next big breakthrough in music production is going to be. New genres are going to pop up all the time, I feel like, and people are going to have cool ideas of combining things in a new way. But technology-wise and like software-wise, I don't know. It's a very interesting and exciting field because I feel like a certain effects plugin, a certain synth plugin can suddenly be what everyone uses. And I find that really exciting. And every once in a while we have like one of those come around.